Good evening. My name is Patrick Moore.
I'm Marlisa McLaughlin.
Welcome to Health Buzz.
Perspectives on natural health and healing.
We're very excited to bring this show to you this evening. It's one we've been working on for some time, and it's called The Mystery and Magic of Crystals. And I'd like to start off with a quote from the eminent scientist Nikola Tesla.
If you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Alongside learning a lot about crystals, we've got a great guest, lots of information. You might want to get back to us on our Facebook page or slow down if you go to YouTube and watch the video so you can back up and get more information. So come on in and have some fun.
So when we talk about crystals, we're talking about scientific industry applications, which not many people are familiar with unless you're in the technical business, but also the emotional and the spiritual and the physical aspects and the therapeutic healing of crystals. Looking at science, our computers, our radios, our televisions, ultrasounds, transmitters, my goodness, we're using crystals, quartz crystals in so many different applications because of the energy that it can promote. And crystals are basically conduits of energy where they are able to transform, amplify, absorb, and actually transmit energy. And we use those crystals also in therapeutic healing so that we can transfer that energy into the positive energy fields called chakras within our body. And I know, Marlisa, you know a little bit about the history of gemstones and crystals.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about just the ancient history and roots of crystals. They go so far back. Did you know there was actually a treaty, an ancient treaty, that used the property of crystals to determine certain basic rules? And one of them declared diamonds being the king of all gemstones.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know either until we started. But that's the king of gemstones, the diamonds. But there's only one queen of diamonds that I know. What about you?
That's
Marilyn Monroe.
Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe.
Cut or pear shape, these rocks don't lose their shape. Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
She's just so wonderful. But she talks about square shape or pear shape, and we know she's referring to a couple different things. But the rough cut of gemstones and minerals are just as wonderful. And we've got a lovely guest today to talk in depth about all of these things.
Yes, Louis Fazzina. He is a curator of a museum up in Rhode Island, and he has had a lifelong passion of learning everything about minerals and rocks and crystals, and is a tremendous educator as he goes into the local schools and really elevates the spirits and excites the spirits of all of these young kids. So Louis, thank you very much for being with us today.
It's awesome to be here. I've been a collector my whole life, an enthusiast, and once I found out about the energies and therapeutic properties of the stones and crystals, it just piqued my interest even more. So I have been doing it my whole life.
So Louis, take us back to how old were you when you first got started, and what was your influence? What influenced you to excited you?
Well, I can't even remember how early I got started. That's how long ago it was. I was just a little tiny kid hanging out in my backyard. I was a treasure hunter. I would dig little holes in the dirt, and I lived in Tolland, Connecticut. That's where I grew up. And that's garnet country, the January birthstone, garnet. So I would find tiny little red garnets in the backyard, and I got addicted. I just started harvesting them, keeping them in little jars and vials, and I had this awesome garnet collection. Although I'd dig holes in my backyard, and my dad would fall into them when he was mowing the lawn and get kind of mad at me. But ever since then, that just pole vaulted me right into the mineral collecting world, and I've been a collector ever since. I had a collection as a kid, and my collection now is enormous. So much so that I need a whole shop. My whole house is literally crystals everywhere.
It's actually a
Pretty
museum.
cool. And it is, yeah. So I can tell you a little bit about how I came to be at the museum. It's a pretty cool story. So I had moved to Rhode Island about 10 years ago, and I was already very deep into collecting at that point. Everything, field collecting, minerals, fossils. And to fund my collection, I would, amass stuff, and then I would go to the gem shows, which are awesome things to check out, and buy, sell, and trade specimens to kind of fund my own collecting habits. And eventually that transitioned into me owning Apple Valley Minerals. Now that was my favorite gem store, a little mineral shop to go to. It was founded in 1962 by Sal Avella, who was my mentor. He founded the mineral shop and worked as a little mineral shop and museum for years and years, since the 60s. And I would go hang out there every weekend, get a few specimens from my collection, absorb the enormous amount of information that he had, and it's a little hidden gem in northern Rhode Island, in Smithfield. So eventually, Sal was very old. He had passed away, and we were very good friends. I knew the family at that point, and they didn't have much interest in it, but they wanted it to go to somebody who would carry on his legacy. So that was me, and I ended up moving into the shop. I live in back, and it's a mineral museum in front, and I do everything he did. So I kind of follow my mentor's footsteps, and it's awesome. I'm living the dream, and I get to learn more and more about crystals every day. I have open houses where people come in and bring me stuff that they collected. I help ID minerals. I give educational presentations to kids and Boy Scout troops and schools and libraries. So I'm all over the place doing educational stuff. I'm part of the local mineral clubs. They go to the
Louis,
shop a lot.
What fascinates you? What fascinates you about crystals? What is it about crystals?
Really everything.
Tell me about it.
So some of the most fascinating things to me, comes to an aesthetic level. The natural geometric fashion that a lot of the crystals grow in. The deep color, the sparkly things. So I'm just fascinated by the earth actually producing crystals that are that immensely beautiful.
Let's take a
in
look at the
different
shop.
formations.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Yes, we took a field trip to
Oh, yeah.
to Apple Valley Minerals, and we'd like to just give you a little peek. We went on the road, so Health Buzz went on the road, and let's take a peek at the video clip. Hi, it's Marlisa. Health Buzz is on a field trip. I got lucky tonight. We're in Smithfield, Rhode Island, and we're meeting with the curator of this wonderful little museum, a gem in the United States. There are only about 100 mineral and crystal museums in the United States, and here we are, the Apple Valley Crystal and Mineral Museum, and I'm going to ring the bell and see what Louis has to say for us. Come on in. Louis is worker at the Pelham Grayson warehouse down in Stonington, Gem Stonington, and he has invited us into his museum. Hello, Louis.
Hello.
How are you?
Good to see you guys again. Come in. This is the historic shop, Apple Valley Minerals here.
So we're standing in front of this incredible collection of amethyst crystal. Most people are familiar with amethyst, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a February birthstone. It's one of the most popular stones. These are huge amethyst cathedrals that come from Brazil and Uruguay. Most big amethyst caves come from those regions. There's even ones bigger than this. I mean, these are pretty big. The biggest ones here are definitely human-sized, about 5.5 feet.
They look kind of human.
Yeah, they're about as big as you, Marlisa. I think.
I'll take one home if I could fit it in the car. I would love to.
Well, there are bigger ones. There are ones that are literally caves that you can actually walk in, and I know of some that people meditate in. They put mats so you don't sit on the crystals, and they're actually they get way bigger than this. It's crazy. Yeah.
So what is the largest size you've actually heard of or witnessed?
So I go to all the big gem shows all over the country, and in the big Tucson Gem Show, which is the biggest in the world, I see huge pieces there. So that's where I've witnessed one of my, the biggest one I've seen of the amethyst cathedrals, and it was I don't even know how much it weighed. You have to carry it on a tractor trailer bed, but it was it was the size of a small shed. You could probably fit a small family in there huddled together.
Wow, can you imagine living in that for
yeah,
that's your cave?
I've seen photos of ones that are even bigger. I mean, there's literally huge ones. It's really crazy.
It's an incredible
so
collection.
The amethyst is fun. These are some cathedrals that we source from the wholesale warehouse, but then I get stuff in old collections, and I work with museums quite often to source things that they're selling and getting rid of. We do all the gem shows, like I mentioned, so it's a lot of what's in this shop is stuff that's come all around the world, really, from miners and gem shows and people in the trade since the 60s.
That was so much fun. Thank you so much for that visit. And folks, we have so much more footage that we've actually decided we're going to put together like a mini documentary and go back to the museum and put together a program that will just take us to the museum and tell you a little bit more about stuff. But I think it'd be really interesting to ask you about how many people wonder, like, how are crystals formed? How are they harvested? What's the difference between a mineral and a crystal? Could you answer
Certainly.
that?
So a mineral is, a single element, on the periodic table, and minerals crystallize. They typically need empty space to form beautiful crystals. They need space to crystallize, so they're formed in geodes, or we call them vugs or pockets. So a mineral grows into a crystal, so they're kind of one and the same. And a rock is a little different. A rock is like a collection of many different minerals, and rocks don't typically crystallize. It's just kind of a conglomeration, something like labradorite, where you would cut it, and they use those in countertops and things like that. But they come from huge mines all over the world, and a lot of them are sourced by collectors, so people that actually collect minerals. A lot of these big mines just function in a way that they're just harvesting bulk stone for our buildings and sidewalks and roads, and the rare earth metals for our technology and all the things we enjoy in modern life. It's surprising how much stuff we actually use crystals, minerals for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Lewis, when you put a quartz crystal into an analog watch, what is the mechanism that's causing, how does that actually work to promote the energy?
Exactly. So that's a term called piezoelectricity. And that basically explains when you apply pressure to a quartz crystal, it creates electric potential. I have a cool demonstration I do with kids that really hits at home how they create energy. If you take two big quartz crystals and rub them together very hard, apply pressure to two quartz crystals, and if the lights are off, you will see those crystals light up.
Like electricity?
They glow.
So you can actually make electricity yourself by rubbing two of your quartz crystals together. So that's a classic example of how quartz works in our electronics, in the things we use in technology. So that's a really cool application of it. It's called triboluminescence, when you make light with quartz.
Very cool. I wanted to just jump in for a second and share with you. So crystals are formed in the bowels of the earth, and then they rise to the surface or get dug out. And you talked about the amethyst caves, and we have a shot for you of the Mexican cave. Check the size of this out. It's just amazing. Now, what's your response to this Mexican cave, Lewis?
So that's awesome. That is a cave known as the Cave of Swords. It's in Nica, Mexico. So they're not. So it's actually selenite crystals, aka gypsum. That's very popular material in healing. It's supposed to be cleansing. It's a very cleansing thing. A lot of people grid it around their house to cleanse their personal space. But these are massive selenite crystals that occur in this cave. They actually had to drain this cave of all the water.
Oh.
Because those crystals actually formed in water, mineral-rich water. It's super hot. You'll notice the guy in there is, he doesn't have anything on, but if you go deeper into the cave, it gets super hot where you have to actually wear a air-conditioned suit.
I saw photos with that.
Yeah, and you can only stay in there for a short amount of time. I think since then they've reflooded the cave, but they did extensive research in there, and it's an amazing mineralogical
So that's
thing.
selenite?
Yeah,
We were talking about it before, about vibrations per second.
absolutely.
And selenite, could you explain that? Selenite has one of the highest, and quartz and jade?
Yep. Yeah, so a lot of the different crystals and minerals are said to have different vibrational properties. I think with the quartz is one that has, was it 32,000
32,000.
vibrations per second. So that's crazy.
It's amazing.
Our bodies and our cells vibrate also. Everything, the Tesla comment, everything's energy and vibration. So it's hard for us to understand that, but I think it makes sense that since we are a vibration and vibrating, that we can interact with the crystals on an energetic level. And so quartz is a very popular one that people use in Reiki and meditation, and there's so many other different types of quartz. The amethyst is a different type of quartz, and citrine, the yellow quartz, and the rose quartz, the pink quartz, is good for the heart.
Could you theorize, could there be energy transfer from the crystal to our own cells and back and forth?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, one application I hear of that is in sound healing. A lot of people do vibrational therapy with tuning forks. Crystals can be used in that because you can vibrate a tuning fork and
it amplifies the vibration, the
put
frequency.
it to the crystal, and different crystals will carry that vibration in different ways. And if you're interacting with the crystals, then you're carrying that vibration into your body.
Wow.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things about crystals and why I think that they are just such a great property for us to be using and why they go back to ancient times is because they have a very sound, I just lost the word. They are stable. They are the most stable. Yeah. The geometric patterns of crystals are very stable, and therefore they hold a stable vibration and frequency. Yeah. So if you have an incoherent vibration coming at a crystal, the crystal can hold its stable vibration, and that's a neutralizing thing, so they kind of entrain one another, the vibrational frequencies. Amazing. Like in the healing and the sound healing, because I work with the forks. And I was also thinking about the formation of crystals. They're created down in the earth where there's all this pressure. So all of these different angles and these different pressures are actually being recorded into that's the frequency of the crystal. It's actually the pressure that they're being created.
Immense heat and pressure over millions of years. I mean, most crystals are formed millions and millions of years ago, before humans were even around. That was their growth period, and it took it that much time for it to go up in layers of the earth where we're able to find them up here. But it's a crazy thing, especially when you're out in the field and finding a crystal, and it's this moment where you're like, oh my God, this is the first time this crystal is seeing the light of day since it was
born.
And knowing about how old and ancient and how the crystals form, way back when, before dinosaurs, before anything, when the earth was forming, is when a lot of the crystals are forming. And to have that moment, that realization, it's kind of hard to grasp, but once you do, it's like a whoa moment.
It is hard to grasp.
It's very hard,
It's sort of beyond us.
That's the magic of the crystal, though.
That's one of the reasons I'm so fascinated. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question for both of you.
Okay.
Now, crystal healing therapy. Can you give me some examples of applications? How is it done? Do you put rocks on your body or crystals on your body, or what are some of the uses?
Well, some people do. Some people, I actually do when I'm working. I will also take a Lemurian seed crystal and place the fork at one end of it so that when the vibrational tones from the fork and the frequencies go through the stem. Here's a nice diagram of the different uses and why, because of the stability of the crystal and the geometrics of it, are functional in all of these purposes. So in the lower right of this picture, there's somebody sitting on a geomat, the patterns that you can lay out. So some people will lay out, I know, crystal patterning.
Yeah, I've even heard of the biomats. So there's actually mats that they put, like amethyst chips in and people can lay on. But, we're talking about some pretty advanced applications of how you use crystals energetically. To me, I've always been on a little more of a basic level. I mean, using crystals for yourself can be very simple. It can be as simple as keeping a crystal in your pocket that you feel drawn to, keeping a grounding stone on you if you're dealing with crazy energies. I'm drawn to keeping crystals on my nightstand. I have crystals all over my bed and nightstand, and it's just stuff I like to have when I'm sleeping. Some people put them under their mattresses, under their pillows.
They wear them
in their car while they're driving.
Car, purse, around, as an amulet.
So it doesn't have, getting into the real metaphysics and the Reiki, it's a deep rabbit hole, and you can go, really far into all these applications. But, also on a high level, I feel that just being around them affects me in a very positive way, just having tons of crystals in my house. So you could argue just having a collection in a case is a positive energetic reaction for you or your space.
Well, crystals, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, sapphires, they're all in the crystal family. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Well, they belong to different families. But yeah, and that's getting into, there's 5,000 different types of minerals, and they discover new ones every year, and they all belong to their different families. So another deep rabbit hole is the hardcore geology and the science, and that's more what we do at the shop.
I was just curious because they use, is it emeralds for lasers?
Oh,
emerald lasers. They use the emerald, and I'm wondering if there are different properties, different frequencies.
Well, and the hardness of the stone as well.
Different kinds of gemstones. Like, why wouldn't they use a diamond in a laser, but they found an emerald is what they're using.
Yeah.
Because they are storing different information.
A lot of the stones
they have different frequencies.
Amazing.
And hardness.
Different frequencies, different hardnesses, different optical properties. Crystals have been known to be used in, all sorts of different stuff. They used to use them in lighting and telescopes, and, there's a lot of the, you heard about the Vikings used to use the navigation, an optical calcite, but it's a navigation stone that would help them see the sun through the clouds and where it was when they were navigating their ships.
So cool.
So, that's going back to the ancient cultures. Yeah. People have used crystals
since the beginning of time.
Human history.
Oh, absolutely. The Sumerians were the first ones. They ground the gemstones up and made magical powders. The Egyptians used them in their jewelry, and also they had them on their amulets. And a lot of war garb was used with crystals for protection. With the breastplate of Aaron, that's where the birthstone originated from. They had the birthstone on the breastplate, so they developed from there. It's just a long history of
cutting tools, right? Cutting stones and
absolutely.
Like that.
Yeah. To cut stones, you actually need a diamond-bladed saw, because it's one of the hardest materials out there in order to cut stone. So there's just endless applications of the different types of crystals and minerals.
Great transition.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating. Let's bring you in on the healing aspect of the show today. We're going to talk about the chakras. I have this lovely painting behind me. Fernanda Clariana has painted this. She meditated and as well as ground up specific stones, gemstones for each chakra. So a chakra is an energy center in the body. It has Indian roots, and so it's believed that, and I believe this, and science is backing us up now, these energy centers relate to different aspects of your health and well-being. For instance, you were talking about the root chakra, which is low, and it's near the pubic bone. So a dark stone, an obsidian or a garnet. We have a great, actually have a great diagram for you for the chakras and some stones that go accordingly. Frank, could you put that up there for us? There you go. So we can talk a little bit for you about that.
Oh, very cool.
Want to speak to that?
Absolutely. So, on a very high level, the different stones associate with the different chakras. The different chakras each have a different color. So, like the red root chakra, That could be red jasper. That could be vanadinite, which is a beautiful red stone. But a lot of black stones are also used for the root chakra. Black stones are also known to be grounding and protective, like obsidian, black tourmaline, smoky quartz. But moving up, there's a stone on a high level. The color of the stone maps to the chakras. So the crown chakra is purple. That would be the amethyst. The purple amethyst would help with things of the mind because it's crown chakra.
And intuition, selenite also, cleansing.
Yep, exactly. And then you have your throat chakra, light blue, and that's aquamarine is a good thing. So different stones map to the different chakras at a high level. And when you're doing different healing modalities, you place stones on the body mapped to the those different chakras, and you do all sorts of things. It's super interesting.
Okay, well, thank you. That was great, and we'll have more on this. I actually also have, if you go to the website here that we're putting up for you on the screen, it's really fun. I came across this in research. So click on that link and it will take you to a page with 50 different gemstones, and you can intuitively just pick one you like, and then it will bring you into the meaning of that stone, and then you apply it to your own things happening and occurring in your life. So have some fun with that. And unfortunately, we've already run out of time, Patrick. We have to say goodbye.
I could do 100 more shows on
I
this
know.
stuff.
We could.
Just the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Louis, this is so fascinating.
It really is.
I mean, the last thing I like to say is some people think, oh, what is this? It's kind of like magic, mystery. But the fact that all our scientists are into this, the top scientists from nuclear to technology to everything. So they know it. And we're just learning, going back to the ancients, right?
Yes, from the ancients right back up. We're coming full circle.
And it's to each their own, different people react to different minerals differently. You're intuitively drawn to something randomly and it'll make no sense, but I always tell people, pay attention to that. If something jumps out at you, you might be meant to, have that thing for something in your life,
Exactly.
A special
Exactly.
crystal.
That's right.
Well, do you want to close it out?
Yes, thanks so much for joining us. Please look at our Facebook page, also Apple Valley Minerals Facebook page. You can get lots more information. We wish you well. This is our holiday show, so
Louis,
thank you so much for coming.
Happy holiday season
Thank you
to
to
everybody.
Lovey, and I want to point out also these beautiful chakra bracelets that go in line with that, so people actually are wearing them. Those are made by our lovely camera woman, Lovey, and they were also meditated upon using the certain chakra stones. So there's so many applications. There's so much that you can enjoy your crystals for. Have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks.